So in this video, I'm going to discuss how you could strike an Irish non-dom status using a quick passport. And this passport is a zero tax passport. It's going to accomplish two things. One is save you a ton on taxes. That's the first big advantage. The second thing is, of course, your end goal is that EU citizenship. Irish passport or the Irish pathway to EU nationality is the best option as compared to anything else out there in the EU. If you have missed that all important coverage where I'm comparing this with the next best option, you can return and take a look at this discussion. First, let's understand what is a non-dom status. A non-dom status is where you're domiciled outside, meaning you don't come from Ireland, your life didn't originate from there. Let's say you come from Australia or New Zealand or UK or any other non-EU country, and you're establishing your residency, your physical residency in a non-dom place like Ireland. Just the fact that you're physically staying there for more than half the time does not make you domiciled in Ireland. You're still domiciled outside. Your roots, your origin is outside. So if that's the case, then you can strike or you can claim the non-dom status. So your physical presence is still going to trigger some sort of tax residency in Ireland, but you are going to be expected to pay taxes on your Irish sourced income. Now in practice, most people are going to have some taxation in Ireland, so you're going to pay your taxes on that income that you're generating from Ireland. But let's just make an argument that you don't have any Irish sourced income, you just have the residency permit, you've struck the residency in Ireland, you're working on your pathway to citizenship, but technically, let's for argument's sake, let's say you don't have any Irish income, then you're paying zero taxes in Ireland, and because you're using the non-dom regime, you can exclude your income that's being generated outside. Now, it's not as straightforward. You got to structure this correctly. You should always consult your professional because none of this information is legal, tax, or finance advice. Alternatively, you can always reach us. We can have a quick chat and discuss the different options and pathways that you have. Now, let's discuss what happens outside of Ireland. A lot of people want to target a zero tax residency. Why? For obviously paying zero taxes outside in that jurisdiction. It has a low barrier of entry. It's easy to strike the tax certificate in that zero tax country. What are the examples? Qatar, Oman, Bahrain, Dubai, the 0 to 3% tax option in Mauritius. There's a ton of genuine low to zero tax jurisdictions where your income, your real income, can run in that bubble. And to make things more interesting, what a lot of people would do is get a zero tax passport, and that is the 60-day passport that I'm talking about. There are literally two options. One is a 60-day and the best option. There's an alternative which I don't recommend these days. The alternative is the St. Kitts and Nevis. It's a zero tax country option. The reason why this is least recommended is because there's extreme scrutiny on these type of Caribbean options. So I personally don't prefer that. If you had to get a Caribbean option, I rather prefer Grenada, but the discussion here is about zero tax passports. So you have two choices. One is that. The second one is the lightning fast, and the stock of this passport, the interest in this passport has skyrocketed in 2026, and you have missed my all important coverage why this is happening and why this might be the best and the only opportunity to grab this zero tax passport. You can return and take a look at this video. So let's say your passport is zero tax. What does that mean? You don't live in that country. You don't live in Vanuatu. I'm talking about Vanuatu, by the way. So you don't live in Vanuatu, so there's no concept of paying taxes there. There is no concept of personal income taxes. So there is no tax certificate because there are no taxes. Now, because you don't live there, can this still be used to pay zero taxes? Well, there is no tax that you owe to Vanuatu. So now what happens? Let's say you strike a residency in Dubai, or let's just stick to Dubai, right? Zero personal income taxes in Dubai, so you're not paying any taxes. Why are we using using a Vanuatu passport, why not some other passport? The reason is a lot of people want to keep that as a private option. With other nationalities, there's always that chance of compliance requirements with your specific home country, and you got to be always compliant with any home country obligations that you have. Now, there's one passport which you cannot do with. You have to get rid of that passport, only then you're out of it. But all other passports, only if you live in that country, then it triggers problems. But let's say you don't want to get that, you don't want any reporting back to your home country legally, then let's say your nationality being used here is Vanuatu, so your passport is a zero tax passport. There's no reporting involved because the country does not ask for any of that information. Your income is generated in a zero tax jurisdiction, so they're not reporting to your home country, they're not reporting to their country because there's no taxes. So you have completely shielded this zero tax solution in the bubble. Now, how does this work with the non-dom regime? In the non-dom regime, you are expected to pay taxes on your Irish income. Let's, for argument's sake, theoretically that's 0%, so you're not paying any taxes there. This is all 0%. So in a hypothetical world, this is how it could technically work. Again, as I said, it's not as simple. There's a lot of things involved, a lot of home countries involved, a lot of expectations involved, and you got to legally be compliant with all of that. You got to structure this correctly. Now I'm going to discuss the two top options to acquire a residency in Ireland. Most people will choose one of the two options, but before I get or deep dive into that part of the discussion, I would like to ask you for a favor. If you feel that this information that I share adds any value, it helps you in making good decisions, then please take a look at your subscription. If you aren't yet subscribed, please turn that on. It makes a big difference. It helps boost the channel. It helps me get you breaking news and valuable information and analysis on time. Now let's discuss the two options, right? The first one is a low barrier to entry, does not require any investment. All it needs is an employment in Ireland in a specific required field. There's a lot of fields that qualify for CSEP, the critical skills employment permit. So let's say you find a job, 40 to 50K in salary is what you should look for. Ideally, slightly less is okay, but that's broadly the range, the minimum range in which you're looking for a job. Now, typically, if you're looking for any skilled job, that is what you would expect anyways. Once you get that, there's no labor assessment because it's a critical skilled area, so they are waiving the require for any labor market assessment. Your employer does the filing. You can acquire this employment-based permit, CSCP. Very popular, one of the most popular options. Before it gets shut, this is the time whoever is interested through this route should definitely consider this. Once you strike that, 2 years is what you really have to focus on, keeping that employment. After the 2 years, you switch over from stamp 2 to stamp 4, and once you're on stamp 4, you no longer need that employment. You can switch over to your own business. That's perfectly fine. The only real hassle is those 2 years where you got to acquire the job, keep the job, and then once you convert, you're a free bird, and then you wait for the total of 5 years, including the 2 years that you have done on with your employment. So 2 years of employment, 3 years of the stamp 4 status, and then you can acquire for your Irish nationality. The biggest drawback of this option is that the physical presence, you have to keep the 6 months each year for the 4 years, and then the 5th year, the 4th to the 5th year, you got to put in most of the time, 10 months in the country. So that is really the trade-off. You're not living in prison. This is one of the best countries in the world. You have low taxation with a non-dom going on, and now because you're earning, your salary is going to be from Ireland. Let's say you're doing half the time in Ireland, then of course you got to remit, you got to pay taxes on that salary. And if you got the non-dom structured correctly, then everything else that's happening outside is taxed at, let's say, 0% in this case. The second and the most important option that a lot of people are eyeing is the STEP. STEP is a path to residency in Ireland. It works similar to the critical skills employment permit, where initially when you set up this business, you're given a 2-year permit, right? Once you have the 2-year permit, you got to really showcase your business. You got to put a business plan, register your business, show that you have a good projection, a healthy projection for future. Once you apply for renewal and it gets accepted, you get renewed for another 3 years, then you're going to have a total of 5 years, after which then you can file for your nationality. Ties to the country is important. 6 months minimum in each of those years is going to be important. It's going to be valuable. And similar to the CSEP, here too, in the final year between year number 4 and year number 5, you're going to put in the required time, which is 10 months at least. 30 days, 60 days, or at the most 70 days you can be outside, but otherwise you pretty much have to be in the country, and then you can file for your Irish nationality. It gives you access to all of the UK. It gets you complete mobility and freedom of movement and settlement rights in the EU. You cannot ask for a better passport eventually, but for now the immediate option that is in high demand, as I said, is the zero tax passport. A lot of people are grabbing a copy of their passport. A lot of RCBI consultants used to badmouth or put this option down, and this was the only channel which highly kept talking about Vanuatu, and now everyone seems to want to get that option. Now let's just say the physical presence is not your thing, it's too much for you in Ireland, you're looking for something truly flexible. There's a potential second option that has more flexibility with physical presence, and it has the golden visa. This also gets the English advantage. You can test in English for this citizenship, so that's one major advantage. Second is it still happens in 5 years, and it gets you that EU nationality. Now if you want to get a detailed comparison between that option and Ireland and then decide which one is best for you, hop onto this video. I've done a complete assessment analysis, broken different options down, including the costs, so you can make a better decision. Catch you in this one.